3 years ago, my partner and I bought our first home. It wasn't anything fancy, but it was ours and we loved it. The neighbors were kind, the area felt safe, and life was simple and good. 18 months later, those same neighbors decided to sell their house. It was bigger than ours, with a driveway, a garage, even a bathtub, things we didn't have. We didn't hesitate. We bought it and put our old house right next door, up for sale. After reviewing several offers, we chose a Polish couple. They spoke English with us instead of Dutch, but nothing about that seemed strange. They were polite, asked for tips about the house, and made small talk. Everything felt normal. Looking back, that was the calm before everything went wrong. Not long after they moved in, things started to feel off. At random hours, sometimes in the middle of the night, we'd hear loud banging or music blasting through the walls. It wasn't constant, but it was enough to unsettle us. The first real red flag came when the neighbor showed up with his car badly damaged on both sides. It looked like he had scraped along something at high speed on both sides. When we asked, he gave a clumsy explanation involving a pole and a trailer. It didn't make much sense, but we let it go. Then one evening, around 6 p.m., he called us in a panic. He said people were outside his house tampering with his security cameras and begged us to check. When we looked, we saw 2 men breaking in. We called the police immediately. They arrived about 20 minutes later, but by then, the intruders were gone. The neighbor's wife rushed home, frantic about their French bulldog. Meanwhile, I noticed something odd. The husband had parked his car 3 streets away and walked back, almost as if he didn't want the police to see it. At the time, I didn't think much of it. Later, when we checked our doorbell camera, we saw one of the burglars standing outside before the break-in, casually discussing which house to target and polish. Nothing was stolen. No one was caught. It felt staged, but the police never followed up. A week later, things escalated. I was at a housewarming party when my partner texted me, "The music next door is insanely loud again." Minutes later, he called, this time terrified. Our neighbor's car had just driven straight through our front garden and slammed into their own front door. 2 men were inside, frantically loading expensive electronics, DVS, speakers and two. The vehicle, they looked like the same men from before. This time, the police arrived in just 7 minutes. They caught the men in the act. When asked for ID, they claimed they didn't have any. Then one of them looked the officer in the eye and said he was our neighbor using his real name. But there was a problem. In the 9 months we'd known our neighbor, he had never spoken Dutch. This man suddenly spoke it fluently, albeit with a thick accent. The act fell apart quickly. The men tried to escape, triggering a violent chase through the neighborhood before being arrested. When police searched the house again, they found a 3rd suspect inside. As we were giving our statement, there was a knock at our door. It was our actual neighbor. He looked horrifying. His face was swollen and bloody. One eye was shut. His mouth was torn. His arm hung limply, covered in what looked like defensive wounds. He was barely recognizable. The police tried to question him, but he refused to cooperate. Without a statement, they couldn't do much. Later that night, he came back, shaking, terrified. He confessed he had cheated on his wife. Fan claimed she had sent people after him. He begged to stay at our house. We refused. We offered to take him to the hospital instead and dropped him off around 10:30 p.m. We told him we'd stay somewhere else for the night. We didn't. We went home, locked every door, and sat in silence. At 1 a.m., our dog started growling. We checked the doorbell camera. He was back, standing on our porch, ringing the bell again and again. We stayed quiet, watching in the dark. Then a car pulled onto the street. He panicked, ran off the Porsche, hid behind our cars in the driveway, crouched in the shadows. Then the car stopped. His wife stepped out. She walked toward the house, then paused. She had seen him. We held our breath. She approached him slowly. Under the streetlight, she began to cry loud, guttural sobs that echoed through the empty street. She kept asking him questions, her voice breaking. He said nothing. Eventually, they both got into the car and drove away. We didn't see them for 3 days.